He is a god of the game.
12 seasons, 11 playoffs, 9 finals and 3 championships. Can 21 be Chennai Super Kings' 4th IPL title, or is it time for a new name in the trophy? Even though the Indian team lost the cricket series against Australia, there are a lot of positives to look forward to. Do the France football team have to always go behind to realize how good a team they are? And our Indian young shooters prove there is a lot to look forward to in spite of the Olympics disappointment. Let's go!
Absolutely world class!
Hello and welcome to episode 38 of Sports Charcha, where we start with a quick apology for missing the previous episode, but don't worry, we'll make it up as we have a lot of interesting updates from the world of sports for you. And to do that, as always, let's welcome Ishan.
Hi guys, so glad to hear you guys and excited to get this week rolling with a new podcast.
See, this week also we are switching it up a little bit, not like in a great thing. We usually start with football and then we move on to other sports. Today we are going to start with cricket, and yes, there's been a lot of T20 action going on. There is obviously IPL where it's playoff time right now. We'll talk about that. But we want to start with India versus Australia women's T20 series. In fact, as we have been talking about, this has been one complete series where we had points taken from ODI, Test and T20. So the T20 started off with a game that was washed out, but India lost the second and the third game also. Second game was a bit closer, I would say. Australia were chasing about 119. They were, I think, about 80, 85, 90 odd for 6 at a stage. But then Talia Megra, she's been one of the shining stars for Australia in this entire series. I think a medium pace bowling all-rounder. She scored 42 and won the game for Australia. And the second game, India were not in the contest at all. As long as Smriti was there, we were there. But then we lost it. But then a few nice positives that came out of it. And we'll be looking forward to more women's cricket action. Big Bash League is starting. So Ishan, you generally follow Big Bash League, right? Because
Yes.
So I think we have four. Yeah, I think we have 4 Indians playing in the women's league. I think there is Harman, Smriti.
So I think the Big Bash League has actually, been a real boost for Indian women's cricket because, I've always been a proponent of, Indian players should, even in the men's side, should play in the Big Bash because not only of the exposure to a global audience for, say, not the superstars, but people who are future superstars, but also the way the Big Bash is organized as an event. What IPL used to be in the first 4 years, this event purely about cricket where fans are everything. But, Big Bash has something else. It's like a show. It's like it's almost like a colorful circus of cricket, which makes it so, entertaining to watch. The commentating is great. Amazing jerseys, which IPL does not have, never had. So, those are avenues which actually helps young Indians understand the global game better. And I think it's great that at least the women's side is moving and it's actually our superstars who are playing the Big Bash. But I'm hoping for, a longer run of younger girls who are, waiting in the wings to play for India, getting an opportunity in the Big Bash. You followed this India-Australia series pretty closely. What rating would you give the Indian women's team in terms of how you expected the series to go and how it ended?
I would give an 8 out of 10, definitely in terms of performance and effort. I never thought we would match Australia at this level. In fact, the final result might say that India won only 1 game, but we were actually very close to winning at least 3 or 4 games out of this entire series. We just couldn't finish it. There is that thing we are missing as a team, that that ruthlessness to finish off games. I think that will come over a period of time. Hopefully we'll pick that up and become a bigger team than who we are right now. We will move on to IPL where the playoffs are going on. In fact, yesterday we had the qualifier between CSK and Delhi Capitals, and no points for guessing which team is in the finals already. It is the CSK, the Chennai Super Kings, their ninth finals. Yes, they have lost five of them. But hopefully this will be their fourth title. But once again, champion team, champion performance. Delhi Capitals were very good, but again, I felt Rishabh Pant's inexperience in captaincy costed them a little bit. Were you able to catch up the game yesterday?
Not really, but CSK never failed to surprise me. And actually, it's like a analogy in investments and how most of India relies on pension, right? It's the most reliable investment. Similarly, if you look at CSK, people after going, Dhoni and all the other guys take a walking stick post the match because they can barely move. But during the game, man, all that experience counts for something. It's unbelievable how they keep getting results after results year on year. And I think this might be another year of a championship because, hey, there might not be any Mumbai Indians.
Yeah.
There isn't any Mumbai Indians.
The bunny.
The bunny, yes.
Now that's great on CSK. Now DC, they have another chance. I actually love this playoff format that IPL follows. Not many other sport follow this. I hope they all follow this top two getting an extra chance. But the other game, the eliminator going on as we are talking, it's between Royal Challengers Bangalore versus Kolkata Knight Riders. In fact, Kolkata are in pole position to win this. They need 32 odd runs in 7 overs with 7 wickets in hand. So it should be easy. By the time we finish this episode, this match should be done. So that game is happening day after tomorrow. It will be between Delhi Capitals, and the way things are going on, I believe it will be KKR, and one of the two will meet Chennai Super Kings in the finals on 15th of October, Friday. Remember guys, it's happening in UAE, so the finals is happening on a Friday. Back to those 90s Sharjah days. So that's about it for this part. That's about it for T20 cricket this episode. When we come back on the next episode, we'll talk about the winner of the IPL. In the next part, we will talk about the Nations League. In the previous episode, when we finished off, I said Nations League is the Carabao Cup of international championships or the international games. But when you saw the games, when you saw how the players reacted when they won, it actually felt the other way around. There was actually a lot of euphoria around players and the managers and the coaching staffs when the goals were scored, when the chances were missed. It was great to watch. Excellent advert for international football. In fact, 7 years, 8 years back, when there's an international break, I used to be like, oh my god, this is the boring 2 weeks of my life. But I think this Nations League has actually changed it a bit. Ishan, were you a little, one more tournament, why are they bringing this kind of a person, or were you looking forward to Nations League when it came?
No, to be very honest, I have actually been quite a fan of the Nations League format because, one thing which I think, like you, me as well, irritated fans of club football was a lot of international friendlies with no relevance. So when there was either no qualifier or no European Championship for a World Cup, etc., going on, a lot of the international breaks were just friendlies in random countries far, far away, not a home, not an away, which actually made no sense to me. But what a Nations League does, it gives that international football vibe where they're actually fighting for a tournament. Because if you look at, all the premier club players who play for their country, they're playing for something every 4 years in a way. If you look at Euros and the World Cup or a Copa America and the World Cup, so that's not too much competitive football in terms of trophy knockout football for them in most of their international careers. You're saying 80% of their career is playing qualifiers or friendlies. So this adds a little bit of spice. And last year when the first session of the Nation League with Portugal won was a great show of how international football can be. And this year was nothing short of that. It was really exciting football, especially the finals. I loved that game. I saw the entire game. It was a great game to watch, back and forth. And yeah, as you said, emotions were running high. People were playing for their countries. It's a great show for what international football or international sport can do over and above club football.
And it was the world champions, France, Les Blues. They won the second UEFA Nations League and they technically become the first team ever to win a World Cup, a European Championship, and a Nations League football championship. Now they defeated Las Rojas, the Spanish team, who actually played really well in the finals. They defeated Spain 2-1. After watching this game, this was my one-liner thought or I had. Like Spain were a much better team. They played much better football, but France had players who could produce some exquisite skills at crunch moments. That Benzema's goal. Oh wow, man! Wow.
Man, I like how we run out of words for Lewandowski. I think I run out of words for how much of a unheralded genius Benzema has been in our generation of watching football.
Yeah.
Meaning, he is a masterclass every game, literally in the last couple of years, especially after Ronaldo left Madrid. He has just changed, gone up 5 levels. And by the way, with this victory, with this trophy, he is now officially the most decorated French player in all of France in football.
Wow.
It was his 27th trophy.
Wow.
Most of it is Madrid, 19 of them with Madrid, 7 of them with Lyon. And it was his first with France because for all of you guys who don't know, Didier Deschamps and Benzema weren't of the best of friends. They weren't on friends on Facebook. They didn't follow each other on Instagram. Now they do. Now they like every reel. So Benzema's back. But I have a question for you. We saw France being pretty shitty in the Euros. Okay, that might be a harsh statement. You know, the match against Switzerland, they were up 3 goals and then collapsed. But, you know, it wasn't going for them. It was a bunch of superstars playing 11 as well as the bench, but they were just not playing well. What changed in at least in this couple of games? What did you notice?
I think only when their backs against the wall they realize that they are a great team and that they can produce such kind of skills. Also, in terms of the forward line, I felt Benzema kind of probably felt a bit more comfortable during this time. Yes, it's not that he wasn't playing at all. He had a bit of a training with France before the start of the Euros. Maybe that front three weren't gelling that much. Here also they weren't gelling actually that much. It's only that 2-3 minutes of time when they were able to find that particular space and to produce that kind of skill. So again, it is not that something that wasn't working for France in the Euros. As you said, it was that one-off game against Switzerland where they kind of lost their defensive shape for about 10-15 minutes and Switzerland at that point of time pressed advantage and came back. So if Mbappe had scored that goal, if France had won that game against Switzerland, we wouldn't have known. Like we would have seen a different France in the semi-finals and the finals. So or the quarterfinals and the semi-finals and the finals. So we wouldn't know. So maybe that this France was always there, just that they just needed that kick in the backside for them to like wake up and realize that they are a great team.
In defense of Benzema, he did score 4 goals in the Euros as well.
Yeah.
I mean, but my question is, if you look at the forward line of France, it's basically Benzema and Mbappe. Griezmann has gone completely off the face of the earth right now as a footballer. Do you think he still merits a place in the first 11?
He still does. Deschamps absolutely love him. In fact, when he became the coach and when he saw Griezmann, when he took Griezmann into the national team, his idea was to build the French national team around Griezmann. In fact, the 2018 World Cup winning team was built around Griezmann. So he absolutely loves Griezmann. So he will continue with Griezmann for a while unless things go absolutely bad, which I don't think it will be. So Griezmann will continue to be the main man in France. I'm not sure how he's going to do with Atletico, but generally in France he's going to be the main man. Alright, let's talk about the team in red. In fact, this entire semi-finals and finals were about Team Blue versus Team Red. It was the Azuris versus the Rojas initially semi-finals, and then the Blues versus the Red Devils. Let's talk about the Red Devils, whose goalkeeper, after losing the semi-finals, came out and said that this third place game is bullshit. Who plays these third place games? They don't care about these athletes. And then they go and lose that game also. See, again, I'm going to ask.
Bala, do you have a contract in place that you can't name the countries?
No, obviously.
I've noticed all the doing. No, but I actually agree with Courtois. A third place game, especially for a Nations League tournament, is pushing it a little too much. And it showed the way how Belgium. It was, by the way, quite an interesting, fun game. It was not a boring game. The Belgium versus Italy one, but you could see that both teams, didn't care for it that much.
Yeah.
It's not worth so much, And I've never understood third place games. I don't understand because I understand if it's in the Olympics, there's a bronze medal to be had, but for a World Cup, for these kind of tournaments, I don't see any point, especially in the middle of a season.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you the $1 million question or the $1 billion question, which everyone's asking about this Belgium team. Is this it? Will you expect anything out of this Belgium squad in the 2022 World Cup?
I would say no, because and I'll tell you why. The Belgian team and women's tennis fans don't hate on me. Remind me of a lot of number one ranked female players who are not named Serena Williams, who have been number one without winning anything for most of the ATP season. Belgium have been number one ranked country in FIFA for the last 3-4 years. But what have they got to show for it? Nothing. The golden generation started about 4.5-5 years ago, when the De Bruyne, Hazard's company at the Vincent company at his end of his career came in. Basically, when Martinez took over as the Belgian manager, they have probably the best squad in Europe, in the world. But not even a single final. Let's not look at a trophy. Not even a single final in that time. That's a failure. And why I think it won't happen in the World Cup is because other teams around them that were weaker have just got a whole lot stronger. Yeah. If you look at the likes of Spain, who we'll talk about in a few, Italy, Netherlands, Germany are picking up again. New manager, we might see. France obviously are going to be there. And the South American clubs. It's going to be Messi's swan song. It's going to be Neymar. Now he said he's going to retire after the World Cup. So it could be Neymar's swan song. So where do I see Belgium fitting in here? I don't.
You forgot it's coming home. England also.
It was a deliberate. Just get England into a penalty shootout. Now it will end it.
See, to me, you can't give away a 2-0 lead after going 2-0 lead in the first half. Yeah, that's very, very amateurish. That's very, very naive football from Belgium. If you have to win big games, if you want to win big trophies, you need to show a bit of gut. You need to show a bit of steel. They had nothing of that sort, and I don't see their defense getting any better or any younger. Believe Vertonghen and Alderweireld are going to play until they are 40-45, but I'm not sure how they are going to go. But how impressive were the other team in red, the Spanish team, where they were under Lopetegui and that short stint under Herrera, and then I was Herrera, right? I forgot his name. Fernando Hierro. Fernando Hierro. Then there was Moreno for a while, and then Luis Enrique has come back. But even the Euros, when we started the Euros, the first two games, Spain were horrible. We were actually worried that Spain won't even qualify. But ever since that game, Enrique has shown a lot of balls, A, when it comes to team selection, and B, when it comes to the style of football Spain are playing. They were amazing. It was so good to see Spain play like this again.
And I think it all comes down to patience. I think credit goes to the Spanish FA for just being patient with Luis Enrique. There were a lot of haters for him, especially after, the style of football had lost for the initial few months of his tenure, where even he, I don't think, knew what his best 11 was. And there were so many, you know, and you can disagree with me. If in the golden years of Spain, there were primarily two clubs playing for the national team, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at that, there is some kind of cohesion when they play. At least like most of Barcelona players were at the back and most of Madrid players were in the midfield and then Barca Madrid in the forward line. So there was
Yeah.
some kind of cohesion. But now if you look at the Spanish side, they are players from a lot of clubs. I think it would be one national team that has the most represented clubs in its squad, and that's incredible. And that takes time to gel. You know, if you look at their best player in the last, say, year or so is Oyarzabal. Who does he play for?
Yeah.
He plays for Real Sociedad. Probably nobody even heard of him till he played for Spain, other than both of us who watched the La Liga, right? He's been unbelievable. Ferran Torres, Man City. So it's amazing. And now what Enrique has done, he's got in the young blood in. If you look at Gavi, suddenly people have forgotten Pedri because Gavi is now the new name in town. He's 17 years old. He made his debut where the world found out when Barcelona were getting hammered by Bayern Munich, and he got himself a yellow card in his first 3 minutes, and everyone thought, "Wow, what a guy who can actually have some kind of heart," and he was applauded by the Camp Nou fans. And he's doing that here for Spain as well, age 17. What a performance he gave in the two games he played for Spain. So I would say Spain are looking scary, not now alone, but they're going to be immensely scary in the next couple of years when all these players become mature, superstars. They're going to be like Ansu Fati is going to come back.
Yeah.
You're going to get superstars out of this team. And if they stick with Enrique, you're going to look at potential world beaters coming up.
Yeah, really looking forward to see Spain in the World Cup and see how these young players come up and play really well. So that's about it for Nations League. In fact, just to cover it up, we'll tell who finished first. Obviously, France finished first, Spain finished second, Italy finished third. They defeated Belgium in the third place game 2-1. Nothing much about Italy. In fact, they were like pretty chilled out that, hey, we have won the big thing, we have won the Euros, who gives a fuck about this? So that's how they played. In fact, the attitude were like that. In fact, they were more pumped only when the national anthem was playing. After that, they were just chilling around the pitch. So
even Donnarumma was booed.
Yeah.
Because all the games are in Italy. Donnarumma was booed.
Especially not just in Italy, it was at San Siro. So it was the Milan fans who were booing him. So poor fellow. So yeah, that's about it for the Nations League update, guys. And for the first time in the next part, after a very long time, we are going to do Speed Point. We were talking about during the Olympics how disappointed we were, especially with our Indian shooters. We had a lot of hope on why we expected a lot of medals from especially the shooting contingent, and we hardly had like one player reaching the finals. Most of the medal hopes didn't even qualify for the finals. The reason being that we are seriously one of the biggest countries, or in fact the biggest country when it comes to shooting talent. To prove that, our junior champions, they competed in the ISSF Junior World Championship last week in Peru. They finished on top with 43 medals, 17 golds, 16 silver, 10 bronze. I kept saying this a lot of times, like for someone who's been following general Indian Olympic sports since the 90s, India winning 43 medals and not having time to talk about the medal winners is something absolutely new to me. This is very good because some of the notable names like Manu Bhaker, people might remember her. She had an Olympics to forget, but she came back. She won 2 medals here. But the star of the show was Ritam Sangwan. She won 4 gold medals. I think this is insane, guys. Watch out for these winners. We will watch out for them in the next World Championship. In fact, the Senior World Championship and the next Olympics. Next Olympics, hopefully, will have a lot of medals from our shooters. So, Ishan, let's talk about the big one, the Turkish Grand Prix or the Istanbul Grand Prix. So finally, Mr. Bottas won a race, but will Red Bull be the happier team this time?
Definitely, because if you look at second and third were both Red Bull, Verstappen and Perez, and they were actually significantly behind in Mercedes in the constructors. They're in fact still behind by about 14 points in the constructor championship, which is, I think Mercedes will have to blow it up really badly to not win it. But the race itself was pretty entertaining. Like Swedish House Mafia played their best music when they were doing their last tour, farewell tour, which lasted 5 years. Valtteri Bottas is doing probably his best racing for Mercedes as he says goodbye to them. It was a really solid race for him. He was in pole position in qualifying, and he continued that form based, straight into the final checkered flag. Uh, Bad harsh luck on Hamilton because the pit lane strategy for Mercedes didn't pan out. He was in third place, and at about 5-6 laps left to go, Mercedes called him in for a pit stop, and they really blew that. They took way too long to get him out of the pit lane. That cost him, precious seconds, and he couldn't recover that, with such few laps left. So he finished fifth, but he was pretty pissed off by the end of it. We all know he's quite a sore loser, but you have to be a sore loser to win 7 titles in a row, I guess. So lucky bunch for the Red Bull team, because Verstappen's got now a 6 point lead in the title drivers championship. Next week is going to be the American Grand Prix, and for all you guys who do not think 6 p.m. is time for you to watch Formula One, this is going to be at 12 a.m. So enjoy. You can watch it late at night. It's going to be an American Grand Prix. It's generally a very fast, entertaining Grand Prix for people like Bala and me who are old people. Narayan Karthikeyan, the last and only Indian F1 driver, who, by the way, I interviewed in school when I was in boarding school in Coimbatore. He got a podium finish in that race. I will not tell.
Oh, he finished fourth.
He finished fourth.
I think he finished fourth, if I'm not wrong.
No, he finished fourth, and there were only 10 race cars that finished that race. So we won't talk about that.
No, I remember that. It was 2005 Indianapolis.
Yes.
All the Michelin tires were actually not allowed to drive.
They were banned.
Only the Bridgestone tires. Yeah, only Bridgestone tires were competed. Only 4 drivers competed. Narayan Karthikeyan came fourth.
But that's style. So yeah.
No, I'm still proud of Narayan Karthikeyan. He's a Tamil Nadu boy.
He's a amazing man. Like when I interviewed him back in the day, what a humble, modest person he was. I also want to talk about a sport that not many of you watch in India, but a lot of people watch around the world. But I want to intro you to, and I want to recommend you to a movie that you guys should watch. It's about baseball. The movie is called 42. It's just come out on Netflix. It's about probably one of the greatest, most iconic sportsmen ever in across sport, Jackie Robinson, who was the first black African American to be playing a white man sport. He changed the history of America. He changed the history of the world in terms of, racism, etc. And it's played by Chadwick Boseman, who was Black Panther. Yeah, so for you guys who are emotional about want another opportunity to watch Chadwick Boseman, please watch this movie. I was moved to tears. It was a great movie. And it will also, I want to pivot that to, if that interests you, to baseball. The playoffs of the World Series are on right now. You can, catch them on either MLB TV or on, YouTube, because obviously they don't broadcast it in India. Guys, if you want to be excited about baseball, just watch the playoffs. Don't watch the 164 regular season games. Just the playoffs. That's all that matters. Do watch this movie, I would say, even if you don't like baseball. It's amazing.
And that's about it for episode 38. Guys, thank you very much for listening all this time, giving your time for us. And please, if you haven't, please go and subscribe to our podcast wherever you are listening this on. Now, in the next episode, we will cover a bit more of the international football, IPL finals. We'll talk about other sports. In fact, next episode, since we don't have a lot of football going on, we'll probably give time for NBA and other sports too. So until then, it's bye from Bala.
And bye from Ishan. Have a great week, guys.
Thank you everyone for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please make sure you hit the subscribe button, and also please, like we are literally begging, to rate our podcast on whichever
He is a
app
god of
you are
the
listening
game.
to. It not only helps us but also helps new listeners to find our podcast easily. You can also reach out to us on Twitter and Instagram @SportsCharcha. A big shout out to the Jam Room Audio for our theme music. You can follow the Jam Room on Facebook @the Jam Room Audio. Bye!
Absolutely world class.